Dricus Du Plessis has just saved us all from Israel Adesanya. It was only 9 months ago that I did a video on how Pereira saved us from Adesanya. And of course we had Strickland save us from him by spamming 1-2s and teep kicks on him for 25 minutes straight. But he always finds his way back with these title rematches, even if, I don't know, he took a year off from getting his ass whooped by Strickland for 25 minutes straight with 1-2s and teep kicks. And now we even have Dricus' coach talking about a rematch against Adesanya in Africa.
I think the only guy that deserves to fight us in Africa is easy. So it will be a rematch.
Like, God, please, do we have to... Can we just have a day off from Adesanya title rematches, please? Actually, I wouldn't mind seeing him getting finished again, so... I say we settle the score in Africa. This needs to be done. Not that I'm African or anything, I'd really like to see him get finished again. And to make it all better, the man himself, Adesanya, manifested all of this himself.
I told you I manifested this. I manifested this.
Crazy to think as a champion, he manifested Dricus beating Whittaker so that he could fight him, only to have his ass beat by Strickland and then laugh off a Pereira trilogy call-out.
That's all good. I mean, it's like, what does it come to daddy? It's like, nigga, last time I checked, you were fucking slept.
Last time that I
Had Dricus beat Strickland to become the champion, while Adesanya's just laying on his couch with his boys on the Ian Gary seats in the back, pretending to not care that his biggest ops are taking everything he's ever worked for.
Damn.
Only a matter of time where he pretends to not care enough to start doing fight reactions in nail salons while he's getting his French tips done up. Making all of that happen just to end up getting finished by Dricus. At least he manifested it, I guess. No matter what, you can't say he doesn't care about the UFC fans. I mean, he literally manifested his entire downfall just for us. That's how much we mean to him. He's willing to sacrifice himself for us haters. Fans. We're fans, of course. And listen, before I get into any more making fun of this situation or Adesanya, listen, yes, he is a legend. He's an amazing fighter, done amazing things. He's a complete badass. If he ran into me on the streets, he could beat me up, you know. Well, as long as I don't just walk him down spamming 1-2s and teep kicks, that is. But the point is, you got to respect him as a fighter and a legend, despite how boring some of his fights may have been and, you know, the random tit that grew on his chest in his 30s. Actually, you know what? I got something to pay respect to our anime nerd over here. Let me go get it. Okay, please don't ask me why I own a muscle-fitted Goku shirt. I'm just trying to pay my respects to Adesanya here, who's done irreversible damage to anime fans in the MMA community. I don't do cosplay or any of that weird shit, I promise. Depending on who's asking. Pollyanna Fiana, if you're watching. But yeah, so UFC 305, I want to say, was Adesanya's last chance to get his belt back. However, you never know. With the UFC, nowadays, they're giving out title shots like Tic Tacs to anybody. All you really need to do nowadays is just get brutally knocked out, sit out for 3 years, and at that point, you're undeniable. And since Adesanya announced that...
I'm not leaving.
Looks like he might need Pereira to brutally knock him out once again and take 3 years off, because as far as UFC 305 went, he looked pretty decent. And got choked out. Which is crazy because after all the trash talk, having to listen to these two yap about who's the real African champion for the last couple years and whatnot. Calling the man a colonizing inbred.
It's like his family's full of incest. Did I bring that up? No. Google it.
Slave owner.
He said something about my servants, and that's rich coming from someone who owned slaves back in the day.
And also calling him
a fucking cracker.
You get choked out by him. And managed to make him let you cry on stage in front of people. That's rough. To an inbred European colonizer, no less. That must sting. Like, if you're going to try and expose somebody for being inbred, I just recommend, under no circumstances, letting them choke you out the following night. It's not a good look. Not that you need my advice or anything. I mean, look how I'm dressed, so I'm not really in any position to speak. I look like an Adesanya fan right now. But it turns out this seems to be the best new base for MMA. Doesn't matter how technical you are, just be bigger, stronger, and goofier. That is MMA now. I mean, Du Plessis is just throwing strikes from anywhere, blitzing from anywhere, and throwing wrist punches, which I don't know if he thought he was wearing one of these bad boys, but hey, you know, it's effective. I even caught this man getting caught by Adesanya, falling face first into the floor and chained it into a takedown to then take Adesanya's back. I can't tell if this is genius or retire. If you want to know how deceptive this style is to watch, then look no further than Darren Till talking about making a UFC return just to beat Dricus. Like, come on, man. Like, come, get some help. Please, stop it. I mean, I just recently saw Darren Till getting taken down a month ago in an influencer boxing match. And I get that Du Plessis looks like he's striking like he's drunk or, you know, looks like he's underwater, but it works, and he's finished Whittaker and Adesanya, beaten Strickland, building an insane resume right now. And we can't forget his legendary win over Darren Till, which might even win another one in a rematch in the Darren Till fan fiction fantasies of his UFC comeback, apparently. So who's next for Du Plessis? Well, Dana White says Strickland will be getting the title shot next. You have the win of Whittaker and Hamzat. And as far as we know, Dricus can already beat 2 of them. And as far as Hamzat goes, Du Plessis may be looking like he's gassing out after a couple rounds. However, Hamzat will legitimately be fighting for the will to live after any round he fights, and has an immune system weaker than Darren Till's takedown defense. So, I mean, the future's looking bright for Dricus, I suppose. However, there is one man in particular that had a little something to say after this event. A man that has saved the world of Adesanya plenty times before. A man that has been carrying this shit company on his back for the last year. Alex Pereira, coming down to 185 one more time. Bro saw Adesanya get his ass beat again and just said, bet. Now, I don't know how serious he is about all of this or why he'd want to drain himself all the way back to middleweight. However, when 2 men are fighting for the custody of their child, they're willing to do whatever it takes. Also, Pereira's now getting gifted title defenses against the likes of Roundtree, so I say we leave middleweight alone for now. We all love Alex Pereira, however, middleweight's in safe hands, as long as it's not Adesanya's hands. The same hands he posted himself playing with his dog's penis with. Sorry, that was a little unnecessary. It's true, but unnecessary. I mean, he posted it himself. What do you want me to say? But hey, on the bright side for Adesanya, I think he's actually the first ever UFC fighter to cry at a pre-fight press conference. Don't know if this is the accolade he'd want, but he's got it now, so. All because Du Plessis made a couple digs at him. Like, for real, that's all it took. And credit to the MMA guru, because he knows Adesanya better than Adesanya knows himself, apparently. I mean, he called it to a T.
Got to bring up the dog stuff. Now, this may get brought up if the idea of Dricus being an underdog gets brought up. You know what I'm saying? Israel Adesanya has a nasty dog fetish. Look at that poor dog's face. I don't even want to see it.
When did I become the underdog?
You know, it's a pick'em. It's very...
Nobody said anything about dogs, bro. Chill out.
I said that. Better shut the fuck up.
After laying up Strickland last year to completely abuse Adesanya on stage.
I live a good life. I do fucking good things. I'm not jerking my fucking dog off, swearing allegiance to China, shitting on my ex-girlfriend.
Now laying up Dricus to bring him to tears, apparently. Which nobody wasted time putting in their thumbnails, by the way. The official UFC channel included. Like, did the UFC channel really need to do him like this? But what really seemed to set Adesanya off emotionally was Dricus doing the unspeakable. He made fun of Adesanya's servants.
On Tuesday, I'm going back to Nigeria. I think Friday, I'm going to South Africa.
Are you taking the servants with you when you're going back?
What the fuck are you even on about?
My God. It's obviously a see and tell. We can see that. What do
You
you
don't
mean?
know my fucking story. Don't fucking speak of my story if you don't know my story.
Yeah, I didn't even know how to bathe for myself till I was about 8 or 7 or something, because we had housemaids, you know, cooking for us, bathing us. And it wasn't until like, I think maybe 8 years old, I realized this wasn't like every kid that had that.
I mean, if anything, Du Plessis made a funny joke about you having servants, which is actually sourced by you yourself, Adesanya, talking about your life story. I really don't get the issue here. And it was a funny joke. I mean, I laughed, and even Dan Hooker sitting at your tables laughing about it. But anyway, it's fine if you had servants. I mean, most people don't, but it's fine if you did. You don't have to pretend that you're begging for food and being forced to flee the country.
People like Razak and myself who are forced to flee our own country because of, you know, a better opportunity. He'll never understand that because he lives behind the fucking gates of his privileged life in South Africa, and he's able to do that there.
Like, was it the morning shifts that forced you to flee the country, or maybe your servants didn't clip your toenails good enough that forced you to flee? Because I'd understand at that point. And don't get me wrong, I understand there are people around the world and in Africa that are struggling, forced to flee the country for a better opportunity in life. I understand and I wish them the best. However, I've literally seen Adesanya on the Joe Rogan podcast talk about how nice his area was.
So that's like the contrast of Nigeria, man. You have dirt poor and you have well off, like Lamborghinis, like people living nicely.
Those are all
I
the
grew up
guys
on this side.
But hey, I get it. If I had to live with people living nicely and seeing Lamborghinis drive past me every day while my servants don't wipe my ass good enough, I'd feel the need to flee Europe myself. Sorry, I understand there's more nuance to having servants in Nigeria. It doesn't mean you're some rich elite or anything. I can't help to joke about it. And I mean, he f***ing cried at a press conference. Also, are we going to forget that this is the same dude that was in his 30s holding grudges against 5-year-olds, making fun of them, pointing them out, to clown them that they just watched their dad get knocked out.
But then, yeah, I looked for his kid and I pointed at him and I saw him and I was like, hey, hey, hey. Just to remind him.
He's crying while he does this.
Okay, now
he's like, he's crying because he's like, my dad's dead. He just, and his murderer fucking points at him and makes fun of him.
I'm on the fence now.
And this right here, fellas, is exactly what the average Adesanya fan looks like. He assaulted a drunk, knocked out Paulo Costa because he reminded him of bullies he used to deal with back in the day. I guess because Costa's got muscles and he looks like a jock in a Netflix show. I don't know.
I'm on shape. And
oh my gosh.
Makes such a big deal about historic events in the world, however, does shit like this.
Done.
Okay, so I don't think I can play the rest of this clip on YouTube. However, he basically hits a certain salute of some kind while yelling something that rhymes along with male Schmittler. However you perceive that. I mean, you can search for this yourself, but, you know, yeah, I don't think I can play the rest of it. It's pretty mental, especially when you remember what his first name is as well. And before the Du Plessis fight, Adesanya had tweeted, "Reporters, do you have a special entrance for this one? Me." Followed by a AI Hitler walkout video. What is wrong with this dude?
Dude, you guys know I've been a big Izzy supporter for a long time. I don't really love the Hitler shit he's been doing. I don't know what the fuck that is, but okay, put that to the side, among other problems.
He generally says whatever he wants about anyone he wants without knowing their life story. However, we're meant to watch him cry and break down because Du Plessis made a joke about his servants. Which, shout out to Du Plessis, because I don't know how he does it, but somehow he's on a make your opponent cry streak. Du Plessis probably had Drake crying as well after having him lose 700k betting on Strickland to beat him, and then losing 500k on Adesanya to beat him. Funny how he had more faith in Strickland to do it.
It's been a long fight. It's been a long fight, and I just had to have a warrior spirit, and that's all. So I'm just.
At least Strickland wasn't crying over a joke about his servants and waited to do it on a podcast in front of a really awkward Theo Fon. And for moments like this, I love to go to my favorite Adesanya fan on the internet to see his thoughts on the matter. Because, you know, there's not that many going nowadays. And that is Kenny Okoye MMA. And let me tell you, this man is the biggest Adesanya fan on the planet. Well, either him or Joe Rogan.
No
way!
Oh my God.
God, this makes me feel like America lost a war or something.
But Kenny did a breakdown on the press conference where Adesanya cried, you know, like a bit.
Yes, Dricus was saying stuff. He got Izzy upset. Izzy showed emotion on stage. And I love it. And that's what I wanted from Izzy. I wouldn't have it any other way. I want to see that Izzy.
Man, this is why I love Adesanya fans and I love Kenny's content. Yeah, I love when my favorite fighter gets bullied enough to cry at a press conference, so I know he's motivated enough to really be in there.
Let me just say this, people know this, I study psychology in school. I'm really big on reading body language. I'm telling you, this is the most uncomfortable Dricus looks.
Oh, did he get bullied into crying in front of everyone? Man, go check out and support Kenny's channel, because I may not see eye to eye on pretty much everything UFC related I see him say, but he makes a lot of entertaining content, like his come back to this video after Israel Adesanya defeats Dricus Du Plessis video. Okay, we're coming back to it now, I guess.
Yes, and new, bro. And new. Israel Adesanya just beat Dricus Du Plessis to become the 3-time middleweight champion. He just made history, just solidified himself as the greatest middleweight of all time. And I know I didn't take a time machine and come back and make this. No, bro. I know ball, and I look at Izzy. People are gonna. You probably like Kenny, and like imagine Izzy lost. Like I just can't. Like it's not a possibility in my head. So I will never lie to you guys. I'm never gonna make a fool of myself and post a video like this. I know Izzy won. I believe he won. I'm telling you, like the mind frame I have right now. There's no ifs, whats, or buts about it. I know Izzy won. I wouldn't have the confidence to even record this video.
Like Kenny, like. Your mindset doesn't apply to Adesanya's performance. I love his content, but that's not how the mind works.
And I just want to say this, because I know there is going to be a narrative after Izzy beats him. There's going to be a new conspiracy theory that formulates, trying to be like, this is why Izzy beat him. I'm assuming the number one thing is going to be steroids accusations. I think they're going to be like, oh, it's the same Izzy that fought Costa. He was on steroids, even though Izzy was never on steroids than Costa.
I mean, he grew a breast in his 30s, but we'll move on. We'll see what else you got to say.
If anyone was on steroids in the Costa fight, it was Costa.
Okay, that's enough. That's enough of that shit. Okay. Shout out to Kenny though, still, especially now more than ever with what happened to Adesanya. Probably not easy for him. So show him some support. That is, like, it's peak content. You can't say otherwise. But don't you love how Adesanya's biggest fan on the internet even thought that Adesanya was going to do some petty shit after the fight?
I wonder what Izzy did to him after he knocked him out.
Which I'm going to just say it. I do not buy any of this whole humble in defeat shit. Maybe I am really hating at this point and I am just speculating. However, I find it hard to believe had he knocked out Du Plessis that he wouldn't have started dancing over his unconscious body, run up to the camera hitting a Wakanda Forever emote, get on the mic calling himself the King of Africa. And if he did that, fair play, to be honest. It would have been funny. Us haters would have been salty watching it. However, losing and then saying it's a win-win for Africa, I just don't buy it. He is right though, after Dana White did say if Du Plessis wins that they will do an event in Africa. I don't know how he went having Usman, Adesanya and Ngannou as champions and we didn't get a UFC Africa, but I suppose Dricus Du Plessis versus Sean Strickland 2 is really the fight to bring UFC to Africa with. Also coping in the post-fight interviews saying how he slipped before the finish and he just made a mistake. Like everyone's watching, there's cameras filming this. We saw you get bonked on the head before going down and you literally turned your back running off, giving Du Plessis your back. Also, he was losing on the actual scorecards itself and I doubt at that point he was going to take round 4. And I'm going to leave it there. I don't know what's next for Adesanya, but what I can say is I'll be there no matter what.
Sign up to my boy's YouTube channel. That is JG2. And for those who don't, you can do me a favor and you can bend the knee to King Triple C too.